Water continues to go down in Mackinac. 2 homes sandbagged today, but for now the situation has stabilized. Last night, crews stayed out fighting the rising waters until after 1 in the morning. Water is still close to many of the homes. People were out making snow dikes and opening up roads today, and they cleaned out the culverts, which made a big difference.
I don't feel a need for anybody to be evacuated because the water is still dropping. They've got the culverts opened up now and all the water is starting to drop.
And we just talked to Mike Jensen tonight. He says the water is going down there tonight.
Well, Trail County is ready for Fargo evacuees. Tonight, people from around the county talked about how they could help those who have to evacuate Fargo and other areas. Mayville State University may be used as a shelter, and right now other schools are being asked to volunteer their gymnasium space. They have also asked the National Guard for 1,900 cots. Although right now they don't know how many people Trail County might be taking in, they are working hard to be ready.
And then feeding stations as well. That's the important part, is give them a place to sleep and make sure that they're fed, dry and warm. And I guess we'll take the needs after that as they come.
Trail County has had flooding problems of its own. The county will be meeting next week to talk about damages that have occurred within the county. Well, WDAZ's extended Flood Fight 09 newscast continues next. We'll have an update on the Grand Forks flood preparation.
And Fargo Moorhead starts evacuating its nursing homes today.
I'll have the latest on the chance of snow on Monday in tonight's Storm Tracker forecast.
You're watching WDAZ News, your home team, with Cassie Walder, Milo Smith, meteorologist John Wheeler, and Pat Sweeney Sports.
Grand Forks city leaders say they've almost completed their flood checklist and are putting the last protection pieces in place. The last of the stop logs, the pieces that finish dike construction, are being placed. The only bridge still open between Grand Forks and East Grand Forks is now the Kennedy Bridge. The Kennedy Bridge closes when the river reaches 52 feet. People need to know that those stop logs will not completely seal out the water. If you see water seeping through, it is normal. Please don't panic.
What we want to do is we want to try to expect the unexpected. We don't want to get caught short by anything. We have a great system that's here, but we have a lot of work that needs to be done, and we want to be very vigilant about that as far as the city is concerned.
Officials say people in Grand Forks and East Grand Forks need to have their own plan in case flooding does happen, and to know how to get around the city even with the bridges closed.
Sandbagging continues at the Public Works building in Grand Forks. Sandbag Central volunteers filled sandbags throughout the night last night. They will keep sandbagging 24 hours a day as long as there is a need. Sandbags are going to people all over Grand Forks County, especially those who live out in the country. People on the other side of the river are also looking for sandbags.
There's been some requests from residents in Polk County, and that's going through the EOC also, and they're coordinating that with the EOC on that side of the river.
Sandbagging is expected to be in full swing for at least the next 18 hours. Again, rural Polk County residents can get sandbags at the Polk County Sheriff's Office in Crookston, and in Grand Forks, volunteers also at the East Grand Forks Public Works building. And in Grand Forks, volunteers are still needed. If you can help, call the Grand Forks County Emergency Operations Center, 787-8052. University of North Dakota has called off classes through Monday so that students can help with sandbagging and other efforts in the valley's flood fight. The decision was made because so many students are wanting to help both here in Grand Forks and in Fargo. President Robert Kelly says the communication center is now open in the Union to help coordinate students and flood needs. Students interested in volunteering can visit UND's Volunteer Coordination Center. That's again at the Union, or call 777-4377. You can also check UND's flood website.
Grand Forks' tap water has a little bit of a different taste to it this week, and those higher river levels are to blame. Hazel Sletton at the water treatment plant says there is more disinfectant in the water. The system automatically makes that adjustment as it tests the intake from the river. The taste should slowly return to normal, and the water is completely safe to drink.
The North Dakota National Guard says a third round of explosives is not needed to speed the movement of an ice jam south of Bismarck. The Guard and the demolitions crew set off 450 pounds of explosives in 2 rounds since yesterday, trying to attack the thick ice and keep water from backing up into Bismarck. Here they're drilling holes in the ice to place those charges. 1,700 people evacuated low-lying areas after this week. because the Missouri backed up behind a massive ice jam. And officials say about 850 people are on evacuation alert in southern Manitoba as ice jams there and the rising red threaten hundreds of homes. Officials will start moving out residents of the Roseau River First Nation and Riverside community as needed. A senior flood forecaster says possible ice jams in the city of Winnipeg could also cause some overland flooding. The situation will remain tense for at least another 3 weeks in Manitoba. Dozens of homes north of Winnipeg have been evacuated as well because of flooding.
The federal government has agreed to provide emergency assistance to 7 northwestern Minnesota counties affected by flooding. Governor Pawlenty says the emergency declaration covers the 7 Red River counties from Wilkin to Kitson. That declaration frees up federal disaster dollars to pay for flood prevention and for cleanup. North Dakota was declared a presidential disaster earlier this week.
Senior citizens in Fargo Moorhead are getting evacuated. All of the residents of Eventide senior living communities in Moorhead have been moved throughout the state of Minnesota. 200 will be taken to care centers within a 100-mile radius, like Alexandria and Park Rapids. The other 150 went with family to their West Fargo campus or to a temporary care facility in Detroit Lakes. Eventide's president says they couldn't do this without the help of many other care centers.
Our administrators stepped up and helped kind of coordinate regionally some of this, and we're just very happy because we were able to keep, at this point, everybody within about a 100-mile radius.
And as we mentioned earlier, another nursing home in South Fargo has had a mandatory evacuation of its residents. Well, it's a situation so many are fearing, and now at least one Moorhead man is experiencing. A
sandbag dike surrounding his home is letting in water little by little and slowly but surely ruining his home. Kelsey Sobey has his story.
A sad and exhausted James Vogel takes one last step into his Riverside home before saying goodbye.
Just all for nothing.
He's been sandbagging since Friday, but last night, river water still made an unwelcomed entrance.
It's nowhere near the top of the dike. What can you do? You go through all the work, it either works or it doesn't, and in this case it didn't work. So we just got to move on and try again.
Once the river rose to 38 feet, water started filling James's basement. If it gets all the way to 41 feet, that means water's going to get all the way up to here. James and his mom spent the last 24 hours trying to save what they can before 24 goes underwater.
We're tired. Actually, this is almost a relief. Now we can go home and sleep.
Just a little bit of seepage under the sandbag dike means James' dream home of the past 2 years may no longer be livable.
Right at this moment, I mean, I don't even want him to move back.
For now, James heads to Mom's house and leaves his home to the mercy of the river.
That was Kelsey Sobey reporting. Water broke through that same levee where it stretches over to the neighborhoods. It was quickly patched with more sandbags. The roller coaster ride this past week can wear on people scrambling to save their homes. Unfortunately, counselors say there's not a magic solution to dealing with this stressful time. They say the best advice is to stay busy. If you lose your home, they say help others in need. But if you're still fighting to keep your home dry, they say focus on the now, make a plan and decide what you're going to do, and then go forward.
You go, okay, what can I do? How can I help? What can I do? So, that means, getting stuff out of the basement, out of the kitchen, out of, wherever might get flooded.
Counselors at the village say most of the emotional issues relating to flooding will come after the flood. They say there is a possibility of people suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome.